Oh, first question. Does Buddha still bound to karma? How about for one becomes enlightened, does he still collect karma? If you're in nirvana, then you are beyond karma. It does not mean karma does not exist. Still, in the karmic world, there's still karma, but you're beyond that. You already have purified all your karma. You won't get into karmic and that kind of karmic energy anymore. You're beyond that. Does that mean that there's no causality anymore? That it still is, but you're beyond it. The Buddha is beyond it, beyond reincarnation. He's not bound by that karmic cocoon anymore. He's free. Free from reincarnation, free from that cocoon of karma, free from mental afflictions. Is in nirvana, complete enlightenment. There's no suffering there like in this world. There's no reincarnation. What is it all about? I haven't become the Buddha yet. How can you ask me? But according to the description, they can only describe it saying, that's a land that is blissful. There's a land there's no suffering. There's a land where there's no inequalities. So many descriptions. We can only describe it by words. But the real state of enlightenment cannot just be explained by words. It's beyond words. Language is a limitation. Don't blindly believe in the language. You have to taste nirvana to know what nirvana is all about. If you're drinking a cup of water, and I ask you, is it warm or cold? You can describe it to me. But I still don't know. It's the guy who tastes it who knows it. I haven't tasted Buddhahood yet. I can only get from my imagination, from what I read, from what I understand. It's that land where there's no suffering, no reincarnation, no karmic bondage. Don't you want to be in that land? Where you're not under pressure, where there's no sickness, where there's no aging, where there's no death. Don't you want to be in that land? We don't even want to call it a land. But when you call it a land, there's a problem. Because when you say a land, that means that's matter. You're involved with molecules, protons, electrons. When you're involved with matter, you're involved with this integration. You're still involved with becoming and non-becoming. It's not even matter. So what should I describe it? I better shut up. I can't use any words. So there was a story. The enlightened monk said, there is a Tathagata that is beyond descriptions. That is, what is that? And the novice monk said, I know. He raised his hand. That's Buddhahood. And the old monk locked on his head with a stick. I said beyond description. Why do you still say it? There's no description of it. You can only feel it. So that's all for these questions. Next question. What are dreams we are seeing during the night while we sleep? Dreams are reflection from your consciousness. Dreams are images in your consciousness that arise due to many reasons. It could arise because of your previous experience in your previous life. In other words, the dreams could be a reflection of what you experienced last year, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, 4 years ago, or last lifetime, 2 lifetimes ago, 3 lifetimes ago. Those that you have experienced. Because that those images are in your memory. It's like a computer. It's already in the memory. And then it reflects, it comes out. And also, those images are the impressive images of yours. They are not vague, they're quite clear, they're quite vivid. Those are the images that it has created an influence of your life, in your previous life or last year. For example, there was a student who told me 2 months ago, he said, "Reverend, I always have this dream that I was going onto a bus and I lined up and I couldn't get onto the bus. So I had to go to school. When I was in Hong Kong, I had to go to school, and my school is on the other side of the island. I had to take a bus, and it took me about an hour to get there, and I was always worrying that I got late. So I lined up for bus, and sometimes I got late, and sometimes I left the line and then called a taxi, and even I couldn't find any taxi. I become so worried, and then all these dreams showed up right now because it was so impressive an image on him." Dreams sometimes tell you something. According to some sutras, if you are dreaming of not moving, say if you have to walk but you cannot walk swiftly, you walk but you walk as if there's some glue under your soul that you cannot walk. You're simply like walking on the moon. You have to move very strenuously to walk. That is the indication of strong karma on you, and you've got to watch out. But if you had a dream like you can fly in the air, you become so light, that is an indication that you have purified some of your karma. If you have a dream that you vomit a lot of black liquid out, that could be a purification of your karma. If you have a dream that you had gone down to hell and see victims of hell, that could mean that you still have heavy karmic energy. Now sometimes that could be an indication. So what do you do if you have bad dreams? Let's be practical. I think that could be one of why because you're interested in dreams, because some dreams may worry you. If you have that kind of dreams, you need to watch your conduct. In other words, you got to stay away from killing, from lying, from sexual misconduct. You got to stay away from a lot of this bad, non-virtuous deeds that you have been involved with. So you have been gambling, you have been doing things that is not right. You got to watch out. Sometimes your dreams can tell you a lot of what you should do and you shouldn't do. If you're an ignorant person, you may not know about it. So you be alert on what you're dreaming. And sometimes dream could be like a forecast of what you would experience. Everybody has that supernatural power inside of you. Sometimes you can sense what's going to happen. So dreams sometimes can tell you what's going to happen. You have to watch it. And there's so much literature about interpretation of dreams. And how much reliability you can attach to those, I don't know. Because I haven't read all these books. But you use your judgment. But the most important is not to encounter what kind of dreams. The most important is stay away from non-virtuous deeds. Stay away from bad, evil deeds. Only do good. And sometimes you may ask, I have done wrong deeds, what do I do? I would suffer. In Buddhism, there are ways to cleanse your bad karmic energy. One of it is repentance. You always have to say, maybe in front of the Buddha, or maybe all alone by yourself, you are contemplating. All the bad deeds I have done in the past, I won't do them again. All the bad deeds I have done in the past, they originated from my behavior, from my speech, from my thought. I'm not going to repeat the same non-virtuous deeds again. Repentance. You always repeat that. And then you also seek other help. Seek a help from a source other than yourself. What is that? A spiritual source. There are sentient beings who are in this world who you may not see. in this world, there are sentient beings who our senses cannot reach. One of the example is ghosts. Can you see ghosts? Some can and some cannot. Can you disprove ghosts? Do you believe in a ghost? Some people say, no, I never seen one. I don't believe it. Some people say, yes, I have seen one. If you ask the scientists say, I have no proof of it. But I cannot prove that it does not exist either. I cannot prove ghosts, existence of ghosts, but I cannot disprove it either. Because there's people who could see it. So there are sentient there are beings that you cannot see. And most beings have different character. It's like human beings. If we can classify human beings into 3 categories, broadly classify them, we can say good human beings, bad human beings, and neutral human beings. If we can classify it. Of course, the magnitude of good, bad, evil, it depends. So if they're bad, invisible, you cannot see beings, we term ghosts. There must be good beings, some people term them guardian angels, or bodhisattvas, or arahats, you cannot see. Those are ready to help you. Your guardian angels are ready to help you. Bodhisattvas, they live in an existence that is different from yours, from us. They are ready to help. Can you communicate with them? Or you always want to communicate with the ghosts? Birds of the same feather flock together. If you always see ghosts, that means you flock with them. And if you feel that their guardian angel is always helping you, you group with them. So how do we communicate with the other level, a higher level, gracious, saintly, holy level, from which you can obtain help? Because since you're helpless, you want to help anyway. Chanting a mantra, chanting the name, a mantra. Have you heard of a mantra? Chanting a mantra will invoke help from those sentient beings. Om Mani Padme Hum, Namo Bhagavate, try all those mantra. Do you learn them or you don't really care? You only care when you're in trouble. A lot of these laymen and laywomen, sometimes they call me up and say, I'm in trouble, what do? I said, I taught you how to chant a mantra. You never have time for those chanting, and now you come to me, how can I help you? You only come to me when you urgently need it, but then it's too late. So why don't you learn chanting? Why did you learn the Buddhist teaching? Why did you learn all these spiritual methods of getting you away from trouble now? Don't wait. By the time you already have got into trouble, it's too late. So what am I looking at? I'm looking at the questions about dreams. I don't want to involve too much into other areas. Dreams, so a reflection in your 6 senses, in your consciousness. If you dream about a flower, if you dream about seeing light, if you dream about flying in the air, that's good. You're light, you're purifying your karma. That's an indication of. If you're dreaming that you're falling down an abyss, in a cliff, if you're dreaming that you cannot run, but actually you want to run, you're so sticky with your footsteps that you can't move at all, then you better repent and better behave and better, do something about it. This is not superstition. It all happened inside you. Next question. I'm worried about the way the world is developing. I tend to think that the faster we develop, the more damage we do on the earth, the sooner the world will be destroyed. Such thinking affects my attitude towards my job. I think the harder I work, the more damage I do to the earth. But I know I should work hard as an employee. How is the right way on such an issue? Good question. Everybody has a job, has an occupation. In the Eightfold Noble Path, that is a requirement. Right livelihood, right thinking, right thought, right concentration, right speech, the Holy Eightfold Path that we should follow. One of that whole path, for laymen, the Holy Eightfold Path is right livelihood. In other words, you got to choose the right occupation. If you choose to be a butcher working in a slaughterhouse, that occupation is involved with a lot of killing, then maybe you should change your job. I'm not blaming butchers. The fact that they become a butcher involved every day with killing is because of their own karma. Nobody pushed them to be a butcher. And we don't underestimate, we don't laugh at a butcher, or for that reason downgrade on them. We don't do it. It's their karma that leads them to do that kind of profession. So what's your occupation? If you're involved with a job that is harming the society, if you are, for example, if you're involved in a job in a certain country, in the production of baby formula, for example, the baby feed on that kind of baby formula, that they will die, and you're making billions of dollars, you think you're going to get away with that kind of karma? No, you won't get away. If you think that, I don't know what kind of job you got, but if you think that your job is harming the world, if your job is involved with enticing people to gamble, if your job is involving with killing seal for their fur, if your job is involved with extracting a bile liquid from a bear, torturing the bear, if your job is involved with killing raccoons for fur, you better don't do it anymore. Don't do it. If your job is involved with hurting people, quit it. You're creating karma every day. You may not know about it. Now you heard it. You know. So if you say that you are damaging to the world, I don't know what kind of job, I know I should work hard as an employee. That's right. You work hard as an employee, you're responsible. For that facet of the job, you're right. You should be responsible, you should be hardworking. But the nature of that job is non-virtuous. The nature of that job is involved with violence and sex. You better get away from it. All right, that's sufficient for this question. Next question. Does the arahat remain in the world by choice? If so, why? By choice, that means if I, in this lifetime, become enlightened, I become an arahat, do I have a choice of staying in this world or getting into nirvana? First of all, you have to know what is an arahat getting into nirvana. Usually, there are 4 stages. The first stage is Srodapana, which means that I practice contemplation, meditation, until I get to a stage that I have eliminated 80% of my egoistic mental afflictions. I'll let that go. No more ego for me. 80% of my ego is gone. There only remain the 20. It could be you are the Srodapana. If you're at that level, what do? You still live as an ordinary human being like you and me. If you didn't tell me, I may not even know that you are already at that level of Srodapana. Which means that if you're at that level, right now, for example, you still have to die, right? We all still have to die. But when you die, you won't get into the 3 vicious realm of reincarnation anymore. In other words, you'll come back to this world 7 times and you become completely enlightened. You won't go back. That is non-retrogression. That means you will only go up and higher to the second level. The second level is Sakridagarman. Sakridagarman is you eliminated maybe 90% of your egoistic mental afflictions. And then you only come back 1 time to continue your study, to continue your practice. Maybe many of the people here, you already have gone through the first or second level. I don't know. And for some people, they already may be at the 3rd level, which is Anagamin, which means that they eliminated, as far as desire of this world is concerned, they eliminated 100% of desires. They don't have to come back again to this world. They are in Rupadhatu. In that world where there's only tranquility, happiness, and meditation until they become the Buddha. And if in this lifetime, you're the arahat, after you die out this body, you still have to die out this body because Why do you bring this body along? Because it's your own karma that you brought this body along, not God. Nothing to do with God. It's not God who gave you this body. It's you. You yourself, you create your own destiny. You created your own body. Isn't that logical? Don't blame God for it. You yourself, you built it up. But after you die out this body, if you have reached the Arahat level, you don't come back again. You're at that level of nirvana. At that level where there's no more reincarnation. Now, if you are presuming that you're the Arahat, do you have a choice of, I want to stay more, I don't want to stay? Some have a choice. Most of them have a choice. In other words, I become an Arahat. I want to stay for another 2-3 years. I want to stay for another 45 years. By definition of Theravada school, the Buddha became the Buddha, who is the Arahat, also called Arahat. He stayed for another 49 years to teach Buddhism to this world. In other words, 2,600 years ago, Sakyamuni Buddha, who was Siddhartha Gautama, the prince, he became the Buddha. He already had attained that nirvana. He had a choice of staying on to promote his teaching, and he also had the choice of leaving because he already have done it. He became successful in it. But he chose to stay for another 49 years because he wants all his folks to understand what he has gone through so that they all will also can be saved. They can also go to that nirvana. He's not just considering himself. Okay, so if you ask me, the Arahat remain in this world by choice, you have a choice. Sometimes if you're an Arahat, you can choose to stay for longer or you don't want to be. If you don't want to stay, then they have the supernatural power to ignite out of the air a flame of fire to burn the body up and they're gone. To burn the remains, to burn up this karmic body. This body is no good, you know. This body is only your apartment to stay in. It's a burden to you. You love your body so much, but it's a burden to you. You still have to upkeep it. It can die out, it can be sick. You have to maintain it. You have to feed it food and give it water. And if you're involved in an injury, in an accident, you could lose one part and you know, it's a burden to you. To us. Why? Because you built it yourself. If you don't do something about it, you're going to have another body in your next life. Is it better than this one? The Buddha said, usually worse than this one. Usually. Imagine what people have done in the bad deeds. Usually worse than the body you're having now. Unbelievable. Don't you feel scared about it or you don't really care? I don't know about the next life anyway, so what do I care? So, you have a choice. Did I tell you the story I had in Malaysia? I told you already, but some may not have heard about it. There was someone, in a taxi cab, the driver told me his uncle went to Bhutan to study meditation for 19 years, and he came back to say goodbye to us. He said, we'll go into Bhutan again, into a cave, and he will lock himself up there until 5 years later, you can come and visit me and open the cave. If I'm still alive, I'll come back with a message. If I'm dead, let me die. Locking in the cave, that means there's no food. It's just locking in the cave, no air, nothing. But that kind of person, he already have achieved that state where maybe he's an Arahat already. There are people like that in this world. They may be in mountain, in caves that we don't know about. They don't have to come to city. They don't have to come to city and enjoy the hilarious atmosphere of the city. You find the hilarious atmosphere of the city to be a blessing to you. I went on to an outing. I went into the interior part of BC. It was so quiet in a cottage, and I meditated for 7 days. Oh, gee, it was boring. So I had to go back to Borat and Robson. I got to go back to McDonald's and Kentucky Fried Chicken because that's my life. Because you are at that level. When you're at that high level, you stay in the mountain And you're always in that tranquility where there's no car, no fridge, no telephone, no cell phone, no iPad. You always have to watch that iPad every day. You can't get away from it. It's a sickness. In Hong Kong, they call it the head stooping down group. 低头一数. His head is always stooping down in the subway, in the school, because he's looking at the iPad. And also you don't know what he's looking at. There's another problem. We can't live without iPad now. I thought we can't live without keys. Now it's even worse. Keys cost little money and the iPad costs $500 each. All right, so no more. Next question. Is there a place for enlightenment of the body in Buddhism? Is there a place for the enlightenment of the body in Buddhism? Enlightenment is not for the body. It's for the mind. This body will go. How do you enlighten it? You say you still love your body? We always love the body because we want a body to be clean. Every day we take a bath, we put on perfume, cologne, we put on deodorant. I might remind you, when you come to meditation, make sure you put on deodorant. Because if the guy meditating next to you, if you really stinks, he's suffering. Yeah, really, I'm being practical. When some people jog for 5 miles and they come to meditation, they are sweating and the guy, I got complaints also. Well, some people say, why can't they stay close to each other? They can't stand the smell. So make sure that you don't put on perfume, cologne, even deodorant. Make sure that you put on the unscented one when you come for meditation. Because other people next to you will suffer if you are really sweaty. So when you are not clean, you know that you take a bath every day of cleaning up the body. Have you thought of cleaning up your own mind? You think your mind is clean? In a lot of ways, the mind is even dirtier than the body. Because when the body is dirty, it's just a body, your own body. But if your mind is dirty, you hurt others. You're involved in a lot of misdeeds that would bring destructions to others, to society, to family. So don't you think it's more important to clean up your mind than the body? Have you thought of that? How do you clean up your mind? I'd imagine that if in Shoppers Drug Mart, if this medicine called cleaning your mind is selling for 50 cents, you think people would buy? Have you thought of cleaning your own mind? You think your mind don't need cleaning? If you start to think about cleaning your mind every day, that path of wisdom, the door has already opened for you. Because if you know how to clean your mind, you will know that one day you will get into nirvana. How to clean up your mind? What's the best way? We found it, but how many people tried it? Meditation. Meditation is a way to clean your mind. How many people come for it? Learn it. Not many people. They only go for Kentucky Fried. Next question. Can you explain the relationship between karma and emptiness? There's a lot to explain, karma and emptiness. A lot to explain. First of all, what is emptiness? Emptiness is a common English language. In the Sanskrit language is sunyata. Sunyata. Or voidness. What is sunyata and void? What does emptiness mean? Emptiness, let me just summarize it, has a few characteristics. This concept of emptiness has a few characteristics. We have to understand that the world is a world of causality. In other words, if anything happened, the existence of everything is because of causation. Things come together, there's causes and there's effect. The flower, the fact that the flower is sitting down in here is because somebody put it there, somebody put some flower arrangement, and then they buy flowers, they gather all these pots together, and they make up this bonsai, this pot of flower. And there are many reasons, many causes that bring this to what it is now. It does not happen without any causes. Everything is causation. In other words, the effect depends on a lot of causes. The existence of a bouquet of flower, a bonsai, that existence does not have its real identity, no real nature. Why? Because it's an existence of causes. There's no such thing as a bonsai per se. There's no such thing as a bonsai by itself. It's just different causes put together to make it become a bonsai. So it's deceptively combined. Remember we talked about Rivada? Look at our body. This body. This body does not have its real identity. Why? Because where do I come from? I come from the fusion of a sperm and an ovary. It fused together. And if I go back to the more causes that happened earlier, a man and a woman come together and do that kind of relationship, and then it fuse together, and then it becomes an embryo, and that becomes a baby and all that. That is because all these causes come together that forms that embryo. And then when it comes up, and then there's a reincarnation of the consciousness inside the embryo, and it comes up to be you, and then you grow up, and then all these factors come true. You go to high school, you go to middle school, primary school, high school, then you come out to work, you have a family, you have kids, and then later you died. This deceptively combined causes, but loses identity. No more identity. Then you find, who am I? Do I have a real identity? No. You don't have a real, per se, identity. Your different causes come together. So that identity is empty. Only causes exist. And every cause comes from another cause, that cause from another cause, and you ask me, what's the first cause? You ask me what is the first cause? And I ask you, chicken or egg, what comes first? If you want to identify the first cause, that means you still confine your thinking to the first and the last. If you confine your thinking to there's such a thing as a first, or the origin, and there's such a thing as an end, that means you're still thinking in terms of this temporal world, which confine your meaning in a dimension of space. The Buddha is out from this space. The Buddha is out from this dimension of first and second and third and fourth and final. If you still stay inside this thinking of numbers, you're not it. You haven't got out from it. You're still in that cocoon of thinking. You have to break that cocoon to find that world. When you talk to a frog in a well, that frog would only say, "Sir, I know what the sky is. It's round. That sky is round." But is the sky round? To the frog, he hasn't got out from the well. That sky is always round. He doesn't know all the vistas of horizon, unlimited horizon of galaxy. Even if you come out from the world, you look at the sky, where's the limit? We have to go beyond the limit. You want to consider all these limitations and think about the non-limited world? How can that come true? So the first characteristics of emptiness is everything is causation, everything depends on others. It does not have its real nature. It is, in the Sanskrit language, asvabhava, no self-nature. In other words, you, like Ravada, you don't have a self-nature. Second, everything in this world is impermanent. It's fleeting. No permanent existence. That's why there's emptiness. And what is karma then? How is it related to karma? Karma relates to the temporal world. Whatever we do involves with karma. Our action, our speech, our thought, it all involves with karma. A karma has a close relationship with emptiness. Karma is like a train with its track. The train and track cannot be separated, otherwise the train won't work. And if you just have the track, then what's the use of it? So the train and the track has to come together. One cannot separate from the other. It's closely related. Creating karmic energy is because you don't realize emptiness. If you realize emptiness, you start to detach your way from attachment to ego. Another characteristic of emptiness is emptiness induces suffering. Why? Because if you are living in a world where nothing is permanent, would you not be suffering? Here are my friends, my relatives, and sooner or later they have to leave me. My great-grandfather, they left. My dad, my fathers, they left me. And nothing is permanent. I'm all overwhelmed with sadness. So impermanency creates sadness, creates sufferings. That's another characteristic of emptiness. Do you realize that emptiness? Do you realize that kind of suffering? The Buddha found this, and he wanted to stay away from it. He wanted to teach us to stay away from this karmic energy.